Tazik was in trouble. If his opponent surprised him with a sudden attack, he wouldn't be able to defend himself. But then something unexpected happened. His opponent's strike was blocked. The hunter had tried to get the upper hand, but it hadn't worked. Tazik looked up to see who had saved him. His eyes followed the arm that was gripping his wrist, and they landed on a face he knew, Jin-Woo's face. But what Tazik saw there made his heart skip a beat. There was something mean and nasty in Jin-Woo's eyes. Tazik's expression turned into a scowl, as he stared back at him. "You're nothing but a weak hunter," Tazik yelled, swinging his other fist at Jin-Woo's face. But Jin-Woo dodged it easily by turning his head to the side. Tazik used all his might to break free from Jin-Woo's grip, and to Jin-Woo's surprise, he managed to do it. With both hands now free, Tazik tried to pound Jin-Woo with a flurry of punches, but Jin-Woo was just as fast, blocking every single one of them. The two hunters clashed, their fists flying back and forth in a blur of motion. Tupop-pop-pop. They were evenly matched, each landing blows and blocking attacks with lightning speed. These two were totally evenly matched. Cheel jumped in and pulled Jo-hee to safety. Mr. Song. Jo-hee stuttered, shocked, speechless. But Cheel was even more stunned than she was. What's going on? The fight was crazy fast, too fast for the eye to see. You'd expect this kind of speed from a strong B-rank hunter. But Cheel was unrecognizable. He wasn't the same person Cheel used to know. Jin-Woo was in a fierce battle with a strong B-ranker. As a C-ranker myself, I could barely keep up with their lightning-fast moves. But Jin-Woo had proven himself to be more than just lucky. He was a force to be reckoned with. Not long ago he was an E-ranker who relied on his instincts to get by. But now he was a totally different fighter. The two opponents clashed in a flurry of hundreds of blows, their movements a blur. Finally they broke apart to catch their breath. Jin-Woo shot a fierce glare at his opponent, Tazik. "Hey, that blood on your clothes. It's not yours, right?" Tazik asked, shaking his wrists. "You're right. It's not mine," he said with a grin. "It belongs to those guys I just took down. But let's forget about that for now. I'm surprised to run into a hunter like you, in a place like this." Tazik was genuinely amazed by Jin-Woo. He had never heard of a top-notch hunter working with the weak hunters at the association. This was not good news for Tazik. He had thought today was the perfect day to put his plan into action. Jin-Woo was caught off guard by a surprise twist. His curiosity took over, and he asked, "Who are you? What's your rank?" As he spoke, Jin-Woo grasped Kasaka's venom fang tightly. "My name is Jin-Woo Sung, and I'm an E-rank hunter," he replied. Tazik Kang, a 9B-ranked hunter, felt like he'd been punched in the gut. No one had ever beaten him in speed before, especially not another B-ranker. But this guy who moved just as fast as him, claimed to be a lowly E-rank hunter. It was insulting. Tazik clenched his teeth in anger. How dare Jin-Woo make a joke at his expense? But then Tazik's expression changed. Something didn't add up. Why would a strong hunter like himself be sent on a job meant for weaker hunters? This mission was clearly meant for the association's lower-ranked members, not someone as powerful as Tazik. A nagging question formed in his mind. What was really going on here? Imagine being a hunter, but not just any hunter, one who gets stuck with the boring jobs. These hunters were in charge of watching gates that other teams had already passed through. It wasn't exactly a thrilling task, and it didn't pay well either. Compared to their fellow hunters, they made very little money. It was tough for them to get noticed and respected by their peers. This hunter was likely an E-ranker, just like he claimed. Something didn't add up. Tazik's skills were way stronger than what you'd expect from an E-rank hunter. And there was no way a fake hunter would be working with the association. So Tazik could only think of one explanation. This guy must have had a second awakening. He remembered hearing that some big shots in the association were talking about a hunter who had a second awakening somewhere around here recently. They said the hunter worked for the association, but unfortunately, Tazik couldn't recall the hunter's name. Tazik's day had just taken a crazy turn. He was facing a man he hadn't expected to see, Jin-Woo. Tazik had checked a list of hunters attending the raid, but somehow Jin-Woo's name had slipped past him. How unlucky can I get? He thought. Now his mind was racing with one idea. He was going to charge an extra fee for this mess. As he stood there, Tazik's thoughts drifted back to a few days ago. He had met a mysterious man at a cafe near the Hunters Association headquarters. The man looked really sick and thin. Tazik remembered that he was supposed to be some kind of company president, but they had never met before. The guy had called Tazik over and over, begging to meet up. so Tisik finally agreed. As soon as they sat down, Tasik got straight to the point. Why did you want to meet with me? He asked. The man looked nervous and started mumbling to himself. I've heard that what happens in the dungeon stays in the dungeon, he said quietly. Tasik had to lean in to hear him, and even then, it was hard to make out what he was saying. What's going on? Tasik asked. Confused. The man just handed him a piece of paper, his bank statement. No explanation, no warning. Tasik looked at the man, then at the paper, and back at the man again. He checked the balance and his eyes widened. There was a whopping 2 billion won in the account. Why are you giving me this? He asked, suspicion creeping into his voice. The man wouldn't meet his eyes, which made Tasik even more suspicious. The guy who hurt my daughter is one of the prisoners you're in charge of, the man said quietly. The old man's voice cracked as he spoke. My daughter took her own life and my wife is still in the hospital because of the shock. He struggled to hold back tears. The person responsible will be out of jail in just a few years, with no more punishment. How am I supposed to sleep at night, knowing that? The man looked up, his face filled with sadness and anger. I think you know what I'm asking you to do, he said. His voice shaking, he bowed his head again, overcome with emotion. Please, sir. The room was quiet for a moment. Tulsik leaned back in his chair thinking deeply. After a long time he finally spoke up. Do you know why I joined the association's surveillance team? The man looked at him with surprise. What do you mean? Tulsik kept going. You see, as a B-rank hunter, I'm considered one of the best. Sometimes big guilds even try to recruit me. So why do I stick with the surveillance team even though I don't get paid as much? Why? I'm not sure. Tasa cracked a smile. The truth is I love fighting humans way more than magical creatures. That's why the surveillance team is perfect for him. He gets to beat up hunters and stay within the law. Sometimes things get out of hand and he accidentally kills them. Accidentally. Tasa held back a grin. Getting rid of bugs in dungeons is a piece of cake. But there's a catch, other hunters are lurking around too. Tasic thinks of them as just more insects to squash, but does everyone else see it that way? The man's face fell, looking super disappointed. He seemed like his whole world was falling apart because he thought Tasic was about to say no. But then Tasic spoke up again with a sly grin, like he was laughing at the guy who wanted to help him. I'll take this money, Tasic said, plus an extra $1 billion to get rid of those other hunters. Can you do that? Tasic wondered if he had what it took to face a powerful hunter who was now stronger than ever. The price of losing would be huge, over 3 billion won. The self-proclaimed E-rank hunter stared him down, eyes narrowed and ready to pounce at the slightest weakness. Tasic gulped, feeling a surge of nervousness. This guy was tough, but Tasic was determined to come out on top. He thought to himself, this will be a challenge, but I can win. Tasic was a force to be reckoned with. Even before he became a hunter, he rarely lost one-on-one battles, but this fight wouldn't be a cakewalk. He needed to switch up his strategy. Just then, the E-rank hunter spoke up. Why did you kill those prisoners? Tasic's response was blunt. They hurt a girl in a terrible way, and her dad asked me to make it right. I didn't hurt anyone who didn't deserve it. Those people were like wild animals causing harm to others. I just stopped them from hurting anyone else. The low-ranking hunter was listening, so maybe there was a chance to calm things down. Tasic tried to reason with Jin-Woo. Look, no matter what's happened, I don't want to fight you guys. Can you just forget what happened today? Promise me that, and I won't hurt you, Tasic said. But he was lying. He didn't plan on leaving anyone alive. He thought about fighting Jin-Woo, but that might get him injured. So he decided to wait for a better chance to take them out, one by one. Jin-Woo, who wasn't even a strong hunter, just laughed at Tasic's offer. You're telling us this now, after you tried to attack us, one of them said, shaking their head. You want us to just forget what happened and move on? It was a pretty crazy thing to ask. Tasic let out a laugh at how silly it all seemed. He thought to himself, is this really how things are going to end? If that's the case, he was ready to give it his all. Tasic's eyes turned wild and fierce. He gave his opponent a sharp once-over, scanning him from head to toe. His forehead twitched with excitement. Suddenly Tasic wondered, where did this guy get that dagger? B-rank hunter was now armed with a shiny new weapon, but honestly, who cares how he got it? What really mattered was what kind of dagger it was. Tasic quickly sized up the situation and finished his analysis. This guy was super fast and liked to use a dagger to get up close and personal with his enemies. He was probably really good at sneaking up on people and taking them out quickly. It just so happened that Tasik was an expert in the same thing. But there was a big difference. The other guy had only recently started doing this again, which meant Tasik had way more experience. The newbie probably didn't even know how to use his skills yet. Tasik couldn't resist teasing him. "I'll teach you a thing or two," he said with a laugh, pulling out a knife from his waist. "Can you do this?" Tasik asked, and then he was gone. He used a skill called stealth that made him completely disappear. The other hunter looked around, clearly shocked and panicked. It was no wonder he felt that way. Stealth wasn't just about being invisible. It made your whole body, any noise you made, and even your smell vanish into thin air. This skill was super powerful, and only a few top-notch hunters could use it. These hunters were usually assassins, and they were really good at sneaking up on people. Being a great hunter wasn't everything. Sometimes you just needed a little luck. That's how some hunters got the special power of stealth when they first started out. Now it was time to finish this fight. In a split second, Tasik sneaked up behind the lower-ranked E-rank hunter. The man had no idea what was coming and was completely defenseless. It was all over. Tasik thought this battle would be a challenge, but it turned out to be way too easy. The fight wouldn't have ended so fast if Tasik's opponent had been ready for his sneaky stealth skill. The big difference in their experience was what decided who would win or lose. "Die!" Tasik shouted as he stabbed his knife towards the other hunter's ribs. But just in time, the two weapons crashed into each other with a loud clank, and sparks went flying everywhere. Tasik's stealth skill stopped working, and his eyes widened in shock. "What?" The E-rank hunter had blocked Tasik's knife with ease. Tasik's eyes widened in surprise as he looked up at the hunter's face. It was blank, but then his mouth dropped open. "Finally, it's here," the hunter said in a weird tone. Tasik felt a chill run down his spine. "What?" he stuttered, confused and scared by the hunter's strange words and actions. Just then, a loud ping filled the air. A message flashed in front of them. "Urgent quest. Defeat the enemies." It was a warning that there were people nearby who wanted to harm Tasik. "Time to get down to business. You need to defeat your enemies to stay safe. If you don't finish this quest, you'll be in trouble. Here are the details. You have to beat one enemy, and so far you've beaten 0. Jin-Woo felt a lot better. After reading about his quest, his plan had worked. He thought that if he let Tasik attack him first, like what happened with Dong-suk's team, something big would happen. And it did. As soon as Tasik decided to kill Jin-Woo, a message popped up. It was like Jin-Woo had passed a test. Now he knew what to expect, and that was a big relief. Jin-Woo had tricked Tasik into a trap by pretending to be weak and freaking out. But what caught Jin-Woo off guard was when Tasik suddenly vanished into thin air. This was because Tasik used a super rare skill called stealth. At first Jin-Woo was shocked and couldn't see where Tasik had gone. But after he calmed down and focused, he could sense Tasik's movements again. This was all thanks to his amazing perception skills, which were really strong. Jin-Woo had put points into his perception skills to figure out if enemies were too tough or not. But it turned out to be super helpful in this situation too. He felt lucky about that. Tasik's eyes went wide, like he'd just seen a ghost. No way. How is this possible? Jin-Woo thought to himself. Once he took care of Tasik, he'd get the rewards from the urgent quest. Since he had to fight him anyway, he might as well make the most of it. Now it was his turn to make a move. It was time to make a move. Jin-Woo and Tasik were locked in a standoff, their weapons crossed and equal in strength. Suddenly Jin-Woo's eyes sparkled with a new idea. Why not try something different? With lightning speed, Jin-Woo stomped on Tasik's foot. The crunch of bones in Tasik's pained arg filled the air. Tasik had been so focused on his dagger that he wasn't ready for the sudden pain in his foot. He jumped back, caught off guard. Jin-Woo saw his chance and took it. He activated his special skill, dash. His speed surged by 30%, and he was off like a shot. Jin-Woo sprinted towards Tasik, his speed leaving Tasik stunned. How was Jin-Woo even faster than before? Tasik's eyes widened in shock as he struggled to keep up with Jin-Woo's lightning-quick movements. In an instant, Jin-Woo closed the gap and stabbed Tasik's thigh with Kasaka's venom fang. Tasik let out a loud cry of pain. Tasik had been so focused on protecting his upper body that he left himself open to attack. Jin-Woo took advantage of this weakness and struck. At first, it seemed like the venom might not work because of Tasik's high resistance. But then something amazing happened. the debuff from Kasaka's Venom Fang kicked in, causing Taesik's HP to drop by 1% every second. Yes, Jin-Woo thought, thrilled that his plan was working. This fight just got a lot more interesting. Jin-Woo thought he had the upper hand, but Taesik was no ordinary opponent. As a high-rank hunter, he wasn't going down without a fight. With a swift leap, Taesik charged at Jin-Woo, his dagger flashing in the air. Jin-Woo dodged and weaved, aiming for Taesik's weak spots while avoiding his deadly blade. Despite his injured leg, Taesik stayed calm and blocked Jin-Woo's attacks with ease. The sound of clashing steel filled the air. Clink, clang. Both hunters were soon drenched in sweat, their movements lightning fast. It was clear that they were evenly matched. Our speed is equal, they both thought, impressed by each other's agility. The battle raged on, with neither side giving an inch. The battle was getting crazy. Jin-Woo and his opponent were throwing huge punches that could end the fight with just one hit. The sound of their blows was like a rapid-fire machine gun. Shishk, shishk, shishk. The people watching felt like they were getting pummeled too. It was that intense. Jin-Woo knew he had to do something to gain the upper hand. He focused all his energy on his eyes. Suddenly a message appeared. Skill, murderous intent has been activated. Jin-Woo's eyes turned deadly serious. When Taesik, his opponent, looked into Jin-Woo's eyes, he started shaking like a leaf. His eyes went wide with fear, and he thought to himself, "What the boss?" A debuff warning flashed. Panic has been activated. All abilities will decrease by 50% for 1 minute. Jin-Woo was thrilled. He knew he had the fight in the bag. But Taesik was freaking out. His pupils got huge, and he felt like his body was moving through quicksand. As soon as their eyes met, everything started feeling heavy, like he was fighting underwater. What's happening to my body? He wondered, panic setting in. Taesik's super speed was slowing down and fast. Shishik, shishik. He was taking a beating. No way, he thought. His mind was a total mess. This had to be some kind of debuff, but Taesik had never met an assassin-class hunter who could use magic to weaken others. Was this guy even an assassin? But if not, how was he so fast? Just as Taesik's thoughts were getting all tangled up, something stopped him cold. Panic set in as Jin-Woo charged straight for Taesik. Taesik tried to defend himself, aiming his knife at Jin-Woo's eyes. But Jin-Woo was too fast, pulling his head back just in time. The knife still managed to scratch his cheek though. Jin-Woo didn't let that stop him. He had planned for this moment, knowing he might get hurt. His goal was to get close enough to Taesik to land a fatal blow. Taesik's face twisted in a grimace as Jin-Woo closed in. With a swift motion, Jin-Woo stabbed Taesik's chest with Kasaka's Venom Fang. The sound of the stab was loud and clear. Taesik's eyes went wide, and he let out a shocked gak. In that instant, both of them knew who would win, and who would lose. Blood started bubbling up from Taesik's chest, filling his mouth. He sneered, blood dripping from his lips. This was bad luck. Running into a powerful hunter like Jin-Woo in a D-rank dungeon. Of all places, Taesik's knife slipped from his hand, and he couldn't do anything but stare at Jin-Woo with a mix of shock and anger. Taesik was breathing hard and leaned in close to Jin-Woo. He whispered something, but Jin-Woo just listened quietly. Then Jin-Woo slowly pulled the dagger out of Taesik's chest. Taesik's body went limp and fell to the ground with a thud. It was like a shirt slipping off a hanger. Suddenly, a message popped up. You have completed urgent quest. Defeat the enemies. But Jin-Woo didn't feel like celebrating. He hated killing people, even if they had started the fight. To him it was only okay to fight monsters. Just then, another message appeared. Rewards have been delivered. Would you like to check your rewards? At least he got something out of this. Jin-Woo tried to focus on the positive and checked his rewards. A new message popped up. You have the following rewards. Reward 1. Jin-Woo's eyes widened in shock as he stared at the reward ability points +5. What was going on? He had just defeated a super tough squad, but his prize was way smaller than what he got when he beat Dong-Suk's team. Today's battle had been much harder too. Jin-Woo scratched his head, wondering if the number of enemies he fought mattered more than how strong they were. Or was there something else he needed to do to get a better reward? He tilted his head, confused. Then, his eyes landed on something interesting on the floor. Something sparkly, about the size of a coin, was glowing on Taesik's body. Jin-Woo's eyes went super wide. Could it be? He couldn't believe his eyes, but the light looked just like the glow he'd seen on dead monsters before. Remember those shiny essence stones he found inside magic beasts? Now, something similar was shining from Taezik. What was going on? Jin-Woo tried to stay calm as he reached out to touch Taezik's heart. Suddenly he heard a ping sound. This was real, not just his imagination playing tricks on him. A message popped up. You have discovered Runestone, Stealth. Jin-Woo's eyes widened with excitement as he stared at the runestone in front of him. A real, honest-to-goodness runestone. His heart began to pound in his chest. The skill Taezik had used had turned into a stone and was now inside Jin-Woo's body. Stealth was an incredibly valuable skill that only a few hunters possessed. If this runestone was the real deal, suddenly, a small stone with weird writing on it appeared in Jin-Woo's hand. It read, Runestone, Stealth. A message popped up, telling him he could get the skill by crushing the stone. All he had to do was smash it, and the skill would be his. This was the real deal, Runestone. If Jin-Woo broke it, he'd gain the power of stealth. What made this stone super rare was that it had the stealth skill, something no hunter had ever found before. That meant its value was a mystery. Just then, Jin-Woo heard two voices calling out to him. Sung, you okay? And Jin-Woo. He quickly tucked the runestone into his pocket and turned around. Jin-Yul and Ju-hee stood there, staring at him in shock. This E-rank hunter had struggled in a D-rank dungeon before, but now he had just beaten Tosi Kang, a powerful B-rank hunter. Ju-hee might not understand how big of a deal this is, because she's not a fighter, but Chu-yu, who is a C-rank hunter, knows that beating someone like Tosi Kang is almost impossible. Ju-hee looked at himself, wondering what had just happened. Yeah, I'm alright, Jin-Woo said. At first glance he seemed fine and didn't feel any pain. But when he turned his head, blood started trickling out from under his chin. He touched his cheek and found that the cut he got earlier was bleeding again. Oh, he said, surprised. Jo-hee stepped in to help. I'll fix that, she said. A blue light appeared on her hand, and the cut disappeared instantly. It was amazing. Jin-Woo had just beaten a strong hunter without getting hurt himself. Chugong and Jo-hee were shocked. They knew Jin-Woo from before, and this new strength was unbelievable. How did you? Chugong and Jo started to ask. But he couldn't finish his question. Jin-Woo knew what they were thinking, so he spoke up. I'm sorry, he said. Just be patient. I'll fill you in later, he said, his voice firm. Jo-hee nodded, and Chul soon followed. You must have a good reason for keeping it secret, Jo-hee added. Jin-Woo's eyes locked onto their boss, his mind still set on taking it down, no matter how crazy things had gotten. Jin-Woo had a plan. He wanted to take down the boss all by himself. There was also something special he could do, but only if his friends weren't around. He looked at Cheol and said, it's going to be tough to keep going after what just happened. Why don't you two go outside and contact the association? I'll stay here and look for anyone who might still be alive. Cheol knew exactly what Jin-Woo was thinking. He was going to shut the gate. Cheol thought this was a great idea, because it would prevent even more problems from popping up. Yeah, that sounds like a good plan, he agreed. Hey Miss Ju-hee, let's go, Jin-Woo called out. But Ju-hee didn't budge at first. Then she suddenly took off running towards him. Don't think you're getting out of this that easily, she said with a grin. You promised to take me out for dinner. Remember? Jin-Woo smiled back at her. Of course I remember. And by the way, you still owe me some money. Ju-hee replied. Well, keep your promise then. I'll wait for you outside. Looking relieved, Ju-hee finally walked away. Jin-Woo nodded in agreement, and she was gone.